Hey! Hey there! Today I'm going to give you my updated bunny build. Now, a lot of people have been asking me my updated bunny build ever since I showed the teaser, and it took me quite some time to upload this video because of Mutant Cells. And I have never had this much fun playing as bunny for almost every content right now. In 400%, you can just run through the mobs no problem as well as Sigma Sector. Bunny can even do bosses and void Erosion Purge with the help of weapons. But we're focusing on the build that I showed you a few days ago. This is the build. Now, the reason why we still have singular modifiers here is because you already have a pretty high skill power modifier on Electric Condense. And since the Electric Condense buff, skill cycle calculation now favored into singular power modifier for the lightning emission ability. And of course, we are still going to be using Fusion Reactor and cooldown because we are scaling through Electric Condense. Now, there will be people who's going to argue that singular is still going to be dealing the most damage. Somebody on Discord actually calculated the skill cycle DPS and was correct. But that was before Mutant Cell changes. Here is my calculation. Now you can replicate this on the laboratory without calculating because the dummy there is one-to-one with the calculations. When we're only talking about the ability modifier, lightning emission will be dealing the most damage assuming you use the same modules but on different Arche in accordance with the ability Arche type. When we average it to DPS, Condense only gives you 124% per second, while emission will give you 413% per second. Why 413%? That's because lightning emission's damage interval is every 360 milliseconds, assuming you have 1300 sprint speed and assuming that you're running without interruptions. But when we use cooldown modules, components, Arche tuning, and reactor, that's where Electric Condense scales. Cooldown can no longer scale lightning emission because the damage instance is triggered per distance constant, and you can easily have it at 100% uptime. With cooldown factor added into the equation, Electric Condense now deals the higher damage and is now your primary source of damage. People always forget to equate for skill cycles and even crit rate. As long as the damage number is big, it's better. That's not the case. It even extends to mana factoring into the equation and a lot more than just damage numbers. And as you can see here, Fusion build clearly deals the higher overall damage and overall DPS. Even when you use a 4-piece Hunter set when you want to spam your 4th skill more and for mana utility, it will still deal the higher DPS than singular build. Now you might say that using Fusion is an overkill. Both builds are already an overkill to every content except Void Erosion Purge. That's why people are using Fusion build on Purge. It also is not an overkill for bosses and sometimes elites, which is why the Electric Condense Fusion build will give you more value overall. I am not saying that singular build is bad. It can be good on lower tiered contents like invasions and such. You can even see that with this build in the showcase later, lightning emission is still able to deal with trash mobs and elite mobs. This build can also tackle Void Erosion Purge, but mana is greatly needed there. So you might want to replace singular amplification with mana utility and even replace Thayer with ascending auxiliary in memory and Hunter sensor and processor. This will give you more effective hit points because you'll have 3 HP stats in 1 defense, rather than 3 HP stats in 1 shield, giving you mana utility and capping your Electric Condense cooldown. You might wonder why we're still using focus on electric and electric amplification on Purge when we already have a 270% bonus from it. The damage increases if we use power increase, yes, in terms of numbers. But as mentioned earlier, the skill cycle DPS will still give you better value when you use focus on electric. Electric amplification have lesser value, but nothing replaces it as of now. But when the time comes, when we can now kill elites with 1 Electric Condense, that route will be the better route. You might also want to equip the last dagger for the boss and even Malevolent if you like. For the Arche tuning, this is the best one you'll get. And please don't run these on your Arche tuning, you are losing so much value from flat skill power or skill cooldown. That's it for the video guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
No chance! Get out of the way! Die! Let's end this. You can't escape. You wanna taste? Give up.
Descendant, confirm arrival at the operation zone. Proceed with caution.
You wanna taste?
A specialized bogus aircraft has appeared over the operation zone. Blasted out of the sky.
Maximum power! Maximum power! Beat it!
Descendant, air support is standing by. On your signal, we'll initiate suppressing fire.
Beat this! Maximum power!
Okay.